It's 3 a.m., your eyes are open, and you have no idea why there was no sound. No dream you can remember. No reason. 1 second you were deep in the black, gone from the world completely. And the next you're just here, awake, staring up into the dark. The house is silent. That specific kind of silence that only exists in the middle of the night. The soft hum of the refrigerator down the hall. A car passing somewhere far away. The person beside you breathing slow and even still deep in the sleep that just abandoned you. And your brain, for absolutely no reason, is wide awake. So you do the thing. The thing everybody does. You reach for your phone. The screen explodes with light way too bright and you squint and there it is. 3:07 a.m. and now the math starts. Okay, if I fall asleep right now I still get 4 hours. 4 hours is fine. People function on 4 hours. You put the phone down. You close your eyes. You try to force it and nothing happens. 3:24. You check again. 3:51. The numbers keep climbing and the sleep keeps not coming. And now your heart is doing that thing, that low anxious drumming, because you know what tomorrow feels like on no sleep. The heavy eyes. The short temper. The fog. The coffee that doesn't work. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet, ugly little thought, what is wrong with me? We have a word for this. We call it insomnia. We call it a sleep disorder. We call it broken. We take pills for it. We buy the supplements, the sprays, the weighted blankets, the apps with the rain sounds. We lie awake feeling like our own body has betrayed us. Like everyone else on Earth is sleeping one perfect, unbroken block of 8 hours and we're the only one down here in the dark. Failing at the single most basic thing a living creature is supposed to be able to do. But tonight, I want to tell you something that might change the way you see that dark hour forever. What if waking up in the middle of the night was never a malfunction? What if it's one of the oldest, most reliable, most deeply human rhythms there is? A survival feature your ancestors trusted every single night for 300,000 years? You are not broken. You're just running ancient hardware in a world it was never built for. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Come back with me. A long way back. 30,000 years, give or take. Picture a cold valley. The kind of place where the wind comes down off the hills at night and cuts straight through you. There's a small fire, low and orange, crackling against the dark. And around that fire, maybe 20 people. Your people. The only people in the world as far as you know. The ones you hunt with, eat with, sleep beside. The ones you would die for because out here alone. You die anyway. Now, when that sun went down, something happened that you have literally never experienced in your entire modern life. The world went dark. Not turn off the bedroom light. Dark. Not street light through the curtains. Dark. Real dark. Total dark. There were no candles yet. No lamps. No switch on the wall. When that fire was the only light for 100 miles, and beyond the little circle it threw, the night was absolute, and it was long. In winter, the darkness stretched 12, 13, 14 hours. 14 hours of night, every single night with nothing to fill it but the fire, the stars, and each other. So what did they do? They slept. Of course they slept. But not the way you're trying to sleep right now. They didn't lie down and collapse into one long, unbroken 8-hour slab of unconsciousness set to a screaming alarm. That version of sleep, a version you are lying awake at 3 a.m., feeling like a failure for not achieving. That version didn't exist yet. Nobody had invented it. Here's what actually happened. They lay down early, not long after dark because what else was there to do? And they dropped fast into a deep, heavy sleep. The kind of sleep that comes after a body has walked miles and worked hard and burned everything it had. They slept like that for about 4 hours. And then, somewhere in the dead middle of the night, they woke up. Not in a panic. Not gasping. Not reaching for a phone to check a time that didn't matter and couldn't be measured. They just surfaced gently into a quiet, still, strangely peaceful hour. And they stayed there awake for 1 to 3 hours, calm, unhurried. And then, when it passed, They lay back down and slept again until the first gray light crept over the hills. 2 sleeps. One night. A wakeful island in between. This wasn't insomnia. This wasn't a disorder. This was the most normal thing in the world, and I know how that sounds. Because it goes against everything modern life has ever told you about sleep. So let me prove it to you. Not with a story. With science. In the early 1990s, a scientist named Dr. Thomas Wehr, working at the National Institute of Mental Health, ran an experiment that quietly rewrote what we thought we knew about the sleeping human body. His idea was simple. Almost too simple. We evolved without electric light. So what happens if you give modern people, just for a while, the exact darkness our ancestors lived in? So he took a group of healthy volunteers, regular people, and he gave them an ancient winter. 14 hours of darkness every single night for 4 weeks. No screens, no lamps, no artificial light bleeding in from anywhere. 10 hours of light, 14 hours of black, the natural rhythm of a short winter day. The rhythm the human body was actually shaped by. And then he just watched what their sleep did. At first, nothing dramatic. They caught up on the sleep debt everybody carries. They slept long, heavy nights, the way exhausted people do. But then, week by week, something started to change. Something nobody told them to do. Something their bodies just remembered. Their sleep split in two. They stopped sleeping in one long block. Instead, they fell asleep, slept deeply for about 4 hours, and then woke into a calm, quiet, wakeful period that lasted 1 to 3 hours. And then they fell back asleep for another 4 hours until morning. Read that again. In total darkness with no instructions, no expectations, healthy modern humans spontaneously rebuilt the exact 2-part sleep pattern of our ancestors. First sleep. A wakeful hour. Second sleep. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't one weird person. It happened to them. The pattern was sitting there inside them the whole time, buried under a lifetime of light bulbs, waiting for the darkness to call it back out. And it went deeper than just behavior. Their brain chemistry shifted too. There's a hormone called melatonin. It's the hormone of darkness. Your body releases it when the light goes away, and it's part of what pulls you down into sleep. In Wehr's volunteers, as they adapted to those long ancient nights, the duration of their nightly melatonin release stretched out. It went from around 10 hours to over 12. Their internal chemistry expanded to fill the longer night, exactly matching the darkness around them. Their bodies weren't fighting the night. They were surrendering to it. The way bodies were designed to. Now, a scientist in a lab is one thing. You might be thinking, okay, but that's an artificial experiment. Did real humans out in the real world actually sleep this way? Yes, and we have the receipts. A historian named Roger Eckertz spent years digging through old documents, diaries, court records, medical books, prayer manuals, thousands of them from all across the centuries before the industrial age, and everywhere he looked, he kept tripping over the same 2 phrases. Written casually. Written without explanation. Written like the most obvious everyday thing in the world. First sleep and second sleep. People wrote about their first sleep, the way you might write about lunch. It needed no defining. Everyone knew what it was because everyone did it. You slept your first sleep. You woke in the deep of the night, and later you had your second sleep. For thousands of years, across countless cultures, this is simply how human beings slept. And here's the part one love. Here's the part that should stay with you. They didn't waste that hour, that quiet island of wakefulness in the middle of the night. They used it. And not for anything stressful. Not for productivity. Not for scrolling. The old writings tell us exactly what people did. They got up and added wood to the fire, keeping the little circle of warmth and safety alive. They talked softly with whoever was awake beside them. Low murmured, half-asleep conversation in the dark. They thought about their dreams while the dreams were still warm and close. Before the day could scatter them, some prayed. It was considered a sacred hour, a time when the world was silent and the veil felt thin. Some made love. Rested, unhurried, in the middle of a long, peaceful night. And some just lay there, staring into the dark, thinking about their lives. Not anxiously. Not doing the 3 a.m. math. about how many hours were left, just being alone with their own mind in the only true silence the world ever gave them. There's a doctor who wrote, back in the 1500s, that this middle of the night window was the very best time to think and reflect, because the world was quiet and the mind was clear. The best time to think. Not a symptom. Not a failure. A gift. A doorway that opened reliably every single night. Your ancestors walked through that doorway tens of thousands of times, and they were not afraid of it. They welcomed it. So let me ask the obvious question. The one you're probably already asking. If this was so normal, so universal, so deeply built into us, what happened? How did a natural human rhythm turn into a disorder that we medicate and dread? The answer is almost embarrassingly simple. Light happened. For 300,000 years, when the sun set, the human day was over. Darkness was the ceiling. It set the rhythm of everything. And then slowly we started to push against it. First came better candles. Then oil lamps. Then gas lamps flickering on city streets. Each one stole back a little more of the night, a little more of the dark, and then, in 1879, Thomas Edison made electric light cheap enough for everyone. And within a generation, two at most, the ancient night was simply gone. Think about what that did. For the first time in the entire history of our species, humans could hold back the dark whenever they wanted. The night stopped being a wall. It became optional. And so we filled it. We stayed up later. We worked later. The evening stretched and stretched. And that long 14-hour night, the one that gave us first sleep and second sleep, and that peaceful, wakeful hour in between, it got crushed, compressed, squeezed down into a tight, rigid, single block of unconsciousness. Because now there was a schedule. Now there was a factory whistle, a clock to punch, a shift to make. Work said, you sleep from 11 to 7 in one piece, and you're up when the alarm says you're up. There was no room in an industrial day for a leisurely, wakeful hour at 2 a.m., so we amputated it. We trained ourselves to expect 8 solid hours, and we built an entire civilization around that expectation. But here is the thing that matters. The thing this whole video is really about, your body never agreed to any of. Your biology didn't get the memo about factory whistles and electric light. Deep down in the oldest circuits you have, your body still runs on the ancient schedule. It still wants to surface in the middle of the night. It still tries faithfully to open that old doorway the way it has for 10,000 generations. Only now, when it opens that door, you're not lying beside a warm fire under a sky full of stars. With all the time in the world and nowhere to be, now you're lying in a dark box. And the first thing you do is grab a glowing rectangle that blasts your eyes with the exact blue light your brain reads as morning. Now you're doing frantic math about an alarm. Now there's a clock 2 feet from your face, glowing red, counting down your failure in real time. The wakeful hour is the same. It's the ancient, natural, beautiful thing it always was. But everything around it has changed. We took a peaceful doorway and turned it into a panic room. And then, this is the part that should make you a little angry. We medicalized it. We gave the natural waking a scary clinical name. We convinced ourselves it was a sickness. And a whole industry grew up around selling us the cure. Pills to knock us out through a rhythm our bodies are trying to honor. Sprays and gummies and gadgets. All promising to fix a problem that was never actually a problem. We were sold the disease and the cure. For a rhythm as old as fire itself, and I want to gently point something else out, because it connects to everything this channel is about. That fire your ancestors woke up beside, it wasn't just for warmth. Researchers who study the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth found that the fire changed us. During the day, human talk was practical. Where's the water? Who's hunting? What needs doing? But at night, around the flames, the talk transformed. It became stories, myths, laughter. The imagination came alive in that firelit dark. That safe, wakeful, in-between time wasn't empty. It was one of the most human spaces we ever had. It's where we became who we are. So when you wake at 3 a.m., you're not just waking into an old sleep pattern. You're waking into the oldest room in the human house. The firelit room. The one where we told our first stories and thought. Our first quiet thoughts. You just forgot it was there. So let me say. This to you now, plainly, in case no one ever has. You are not broken. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you are not malfunctioning. You are not failing at sleep. You are not sick. You are doing something profoundly ancestrally human, something the people who came before you did. Calmly around fires under skies so full of stars they cast shadows. For longer than civilization has even existed, the panic you feel isn't coming from the waking. It's coming from the story you've been told about the waking. So let's change the story. And let me give you a few real, practical things you can actually do tonight. And every night, to stop fighting your ancient hardware, and start working with it. First, when you wake in the night, don't reach for your phone. This is the big one. The waking itself is harmless, peaceful, ancient. It's the glowing screen and the countdown clock that turn it into torture. Your ancestors didn't wake up and immediately learn exactly how few hours they had left. They just let the hour be an hour. So do that, don't check the time. Let the dark stay dark. Second, if you can't drift back off, and sometimes you won't right away, don't force it, and don't panic. Lying there furious at yourself only floods your body with the stress chemistry that guarantees you'll stay awake. Instead, treat it the way they did. If you need to, get up. Keep the light low and warm and dim, never bright, never blue. Do something quiet and unstimulating. Sit, breathe, let your mind wander, and genuinely trust that your second sleep is still coming. Because it almost always is. Third, protect your evenings. If you want a gentler night, give your body a little more of the darkness it evolved for. Dim the lights an hour before bed. Get the screens out of your face. Let your brain feel the sunset the way it's supposed to. You can't recreate an ancient winter in a modern apartment, but you can stop blasting yourself with artificial noon until the second before you close your eyes. And fourth, maybe the most important one, reframe the hour itself. The next time you find yourself awake in the deep of the night, instead of "something is wrong with me," try something else. Try, "This is the oldest part of me, doing exactly what it was made to do." That single shift, from failure to feature, from disorder to inheritance, changes everything. Because most of the suffering of the 3 a.m. wake-up was never in the waking. It was in the fear. So here's where I'll leave you. For 300,000 years, your ancestors woke in the deep middle of the night. And they were not afraid. They fed the fire. They watched the embers glow. They held the people they loved. They listened to their own thoughts in a silence you and I will almost never get to hear. And then, unhurried, they lay back down under all those stars and slept again. Until morning. Every single one of them survived long enough to pass that rhythm down. Through ice ages. Through famines. Through predators in the dark and nights that should have killed them. An unbroken chain of sleeping, waking, and sleeping again. Stretching all the way down through time, all the way down to you lying in the dark. Right now, that quiet hour is still inside you. It always has been. It's not a glitch in your body. It's a message from everyone who came before. So the next time your eyes open at 3 a.m., and the house is silent and the dark is all around you, don't panic. Don't do the math. Don't reach for the light. Just lie there for a moment in the oldest room in the human house. And remember, that's not insomnia stirring, that's something far, far older. That's the ancient part of you. Waking up exactly the way it always has. Good night.